ain't no problem. See. Let's find it. Hold on. Hold on. All right. We're gonna finish up this book. We got about 40 pages left. Um, we just tapped on Hollow Earth. Center of gravity, inner sun, inner continent, planetary wall, surface continents, right? And now we're gonna go back to, I don't know, this book's just been absolutely hitting every single point in which me personally I have experienced. So as far as meditation goes, we're gonna cook. We're gonna finish up this book today. We definitely went off course, but we also did our geography book. So we knocked out quite a bit of knowledge today, I feel like. And then in the geography book, we got probably another, give or take, 500 pages, 580 pages. So not too bad, not too bad at all. We got a wee bit to go on all the books. But this book is definitely taking my cap and doing some capillaries on the caps. Let's go. The ICL conclusion. So instead of consulting Mother Nature to find out what classes of natural food she intended to partake for health and longevity, the earth may come to the conclusion that he is omnivorous, and hints that he may eat anything that grows, swims, walks, or runs, and so long as it not another human being. The result of this omnivorous at an altitude regarding a food has caused man to eat abundantly of animal flesh, animal byproduct, and the various cereal grains in which are to never be designed for a man's sustenance, in order to make these foods palatable enough to eat, that it would be necessarily into them to cook, then by a fire, and then add salt and spices to them for flavor. By submitting nearly all of his food into the fire, a man destroyed the electric principle of these foods. Also, the fire destroys all living enzymes which aid into the digestion for the food. Man was thereby forced to supply all living enzymes from his own body. Our Venetian scientists discovered long ago that the key to youthful longevity is vital electricity, a living enzyme, and wherein the marvelous factors are be obtained only from vital living plants, such as tender succulents, vegetables, luscious fruits, melons, and berries, and the oleaginous seeds and nuts from various kinds, which these foods are eaten into their natural state, just as they given and come from nature, that they are rich from solar energy, which is now able to animate all the atomic cells within your human body, simulating the natural with the electrical essence and from the sun rays. In addition, this and such foods provide a plentiful supply. I appreciate the likes, family. Necessary supply from the living enzymes which assist to digestion, and to moreover these foods be most delicious when uncooked. Thus they require no seasoning by salt and pepper, by any spices which they irritate the body, and add nothing to it in the way of electrical vitality. Dang. In order to live long and healthful, earthlings need to follow the guidelines in hand of nature and to eat food as far as possible within the natural state of it being uncooked. To submit any food to the action of the fire at once injuries into the positivity principle, and that food destroys its enzymes. The extent it may be little or great, into but the effect it is bound and to show up sooner or later in life as destructive to the body. Wow. When a body is deprived of the enzymes and through a steady diet of cooked food year in and year out, it must work extra hard in order to produce enough enzymes to digest that food. By so doing, it overworks the glands, weakens them, and ages them. The body, in a futile attempt to supply enzymic elements in the time thereof, The tire cells become clogged and with their waste and have not enough power to throw off the poisons of the premature old age. Diseases and death are the sad effects of eating wrong foods, which require cooking. Instead of enjoying the right foods and which can be eaten as nature prepared them, it is also so wonderfully simple that when a man observes nature's plan, of which of course follows the universal will of the Creator. However, the moment that a man voluntarily steps off in nature's path and eats the wrong foods, the problem of health becomes increasingly complex, confusion, and bewildering. It is for and to this very reason that the earthlings will now to be prepared into their physical bodies for the phenomenal changes that are taking place and shall take, and as we enter a new age, should not permit themselves and to be misled further by a man's mere whims and fancies, and which appear to the unnatural cultivation of the appetites, but should return into the sane simplicity of the cosmic plan. With the right foods, one can purify, regenerate into the physical body and to make it fit for a vehicle of the new age forces and for the higher realms of light. This return to a simple, wholesome diet of natural foods consisting of the fruits of the earth, oleaginous seeds and nuts, or raw nut bears, nut butters, nut milks, sprouted seeds, and tender vegetables must not be adopted suddenly. Rather, it should be a gradual replacing of the old diet over a period of months until the body has lost all desire for the false foods. Of the old man developing a natural normal preference for the vital electric enzymes and for the foods of the new age. And women. And remember, if you are not yet on a vital diet, do not attempt to force your body to change overnight. Give it sufficient time to be accustomed to the new program by gradually increasing the amounts of natural foods consumed by decreasing the amounts of unnatural foods. The hidden way of communion. I have spoken to you about the great importance of building your solar body, or body of light, in order that you may be advanced beyond the earth, beyond Venus, and beyond Vulcan, and to the sun itself. I wish now to explain that the right food is positive in aiding into raising the body's vibration, for it permits solar energies and to travel more freely through your body. Thus, your body will develop more light. For the vibrational traveling through the matters creates light. It is for this reason that the masters includes your great teacher, Jesus, were carefully to partake only of natural, vitalizing foods at all times. Bruv, this is going to change the world. In addition to that, which they have fasted frequently to rid their bodies of cell waste, which would interfere with the inner flow of solar force. When the solar force enters abruptly into the body of a master adept in which is being prepared to receive it, it energizes the spiritual organs, pineal and pituitary glands, such as a master consciously may step up into a vibrational frequency of those organs, such in the degree, and it be able to communicate with the higher beings into the inconceivable grandeur, and that in the beauty. These mighty beings might not only be advised to cooperate with the master, so it is enabled and to be carried out of their special mission in line with a great cosmic plan. It is by developing of the solar body, by controlling the influx of solar as planet Earth enters the zodiacal constellations of Aquarius. Bro, they knew this was coming. Spiritual vibrations are being increased. This is so cool. A force into the higher brain centers that adapts on Venus as well into the earth, that are being able to tune in telepathically into the mental wavelengths of the highest beings in the universe and receive the vibrations and instructions for desired higher service into the cosmos. This solar force creates an actual arc of energy within the brain of the adapts, that the solar current flows in through the spiritual centers of the head. By consciously stepping up into the voltage of this energy, an adept can consciously into his third density body, physical, into the vibration of the fourth density frequency, etheric, and at will his body thus becomes filled with electrical radiance, in which it grows increasingly more brilliant until the vibratory factor corresponds into that of the fourth density. His physical body is then completely invisible into ordinary sight. solar force also serves to purify and vitalize the physical body to such as a pronounced degree that it destroys all diseases. And if wisely directed, it can overcome the grim reaper, death itself. Does not your Christian Bible prophesy that man shall conquer his last great enemy, death? And the Enoch, Elijah, and Jesus. Thus, by observing physical and mental, spiritual laws, they exist truly in nature. Your own great teacher, Enoch, Elijah, and the Master Jesus overcame death by bypassed the law of rebirth by learning to govern the solar force into that which into the means it they should raise their variations perfect into the imperishable solar body. And after their work on earth was completed, these three teachers were transported in a space vehicles into Venus, where they conveyed within the ancient of the days of Sanat Kumara, and as a result accomplished into the next phase of their great cosmic work in helping planet Earth. It is the chosen duty of the advanced Venetians and to assist you, our brothers and our sisters, for we have walked the same paths you are now treading. We are likened to you, sons and daughters of the great light. We only difference in from being that we have more time in which we to be perfect into ourselves and ascend you to the next step beyond your present level. You may be and to consider us, your elder brothers, ready and willing and able to serve you. Our dedicated task is that into raising the earthlings, so that the ever-increasing life, love, and light shall radiate over your planet into a wonderful age of Aquarius. According to your planet, the universal law of mutual attraction, those into who you are now developing a higher awareness of the beauty and goodness of oneness of life, and will be to attract to Venus and for your next incarnation. It is for this reason that on Venus you will find the highest type of teachers, philosophers, and artists, poets, and creative thinkers of every class. Those earthlings whose minds and hearts had not yet been opened into the great power of enlightened love will not graduate at their next incarnation, but will reincarnate again onto Earth. This will continue until they have attained a conscious that is more perfect in harmony with the selfless, altruistic souls on the next higher planet. As Lanzara had finished his thought, the violet light began to blink on and off rapidly above the door of the space disk. That is the signal explained in the Venetians, and from the Shilana, and to return into the great transporter spaceship, which it is waiting for us at a stationary position of 200 miles above Earth. The small flying saucer you see before you now is one of many scout discs carried out by the larger craft. We utilize these smaller discs for a purpose of observing the Earth more closely and making personal contacts with our friends here. The transport spaceships will remain into being presented into the position and for 3 more days during a time in which we shall commune with you telepathically each evening. It will not be necessary for you to come at this mountainside as previously. The privacy of your own room in the city will be sufficient. However, you must continue to use a telolith gem as before, and to increase your powers of the physic attunement with us. Our next contact then will be a telethought tomorrow, and by the evening into a usual hour, I shall at that time disclose to you very fascinating details in regarding our own way of life on Venus and the wonderful souls who now dwell here. Lanzara, as Shalina had smiled beautifully and radiantly, a warming smiles, I responded with sincere smiles and the most grateful thanks, and for us and to be the divine privileges and for had be bestowed upon this night. My heart was too full to say more. Keep faith with us, beloved friends, said Lanzara, and with you, divine plan and cosmos, your reward shall be exceeding to your fondest hopes. With this, 2 marvelous visitors turned quickly, and few graceful strides had been into reach of flying saucer, and entered it. The door closed silently behind them. Then as I watched, the amazement with the circular craft suddenly glowed with a brilliant greenish light. This turned into an intense golden orange, and then all at once the ship was off the ground. In seconds, it climbed straight up and for a distance of 300 feet, then changed direction and moved with an unbelievable speed at an upward angle. The gold orange color of the ship turned to blue white, and suddenly I could see it no longer. The theme of the fourth lesson suggests the following 5 important questions. How may each individual on earth restore harmony in his own body, mind, and soul? What is the number of heavens each soul shall experience? And 2, route into the kingdom of the sun. 144, restore the natural energetic foods. The state and the number of the zodiacal rounds, rebirths usually, and required a complete experience on earth. How many earth lives does this represent? I seen a sign that had 16, but it's supposed to be 12. But what's written in stone is more legit, right? So 16. To make sure your graduation into Venus, what must you do right into being presented to the earth life? Which kind of individuals gravitate towards Venus? The last of the journey of the lessons. What is the good result of being more orderly and harmonious into your personal life for vital age, health? Should you include into your daily diet foods that had been pickled, roasted, toasted food, boiled, frozen, or dehydrated, pasteurized, or fried? Give a reason. It's going to be foods that cook in the sun, that grow in the sun, and that are not processed from being in the sun to being into the hand to being eaten, that are energized by the sun. Is the one power of the universe ever evil? No. What is the diamond star and where it may be found? What does it resemble unto a diamond? That's going to be the human body. And then the soul is going to be the sun. The sun is the soul into the universe. The universe is the oneness with the atom. And imagine that be like the heart. What is the great secret of the Venetian life? Them boys lived to be like 500 to 1,000 years old on a light scale. The next morning proved to be a busy one. There were numerous routine duties and to take care into the office. They're actually like really nice people. They're trying to restore the number 7 back to the earth, which is like the highest force of frequencies to be experienced, but you got to stay away from the lower 7. And so their teachings are everlasting and great, but they need the self-discovery, the self to want to discover the inner parts and the inner knowing, versus they can't force any one person to experience and want the experience, because it just doesn't work. You can't expect to unlock a door if you never searched for the key. You got to search for the key. By searching for the key, you search for the inner knowing of the self. I attended to these matters as carefully as I was able to be considered into the previous night's experiences had made a profound impression upon my mind, and the memory I kept seeing the beautiful radiant force of Shilana and to the dynamic, compassionate expressions of Lanzara. Golden memories, these, and to think that the wonderful space beings had not only given me OSC, the outer space communication, but had also honored me with the personal visitation by a flying saucer, which was more than I could fully comprehend yet. The inner assurance that now was being felt was a definitive and to the positive. The space beings did now exist. They were real. This I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt. Moreover, there was a real purpose in their being. Lanzara had more plainly a secret for life which had only been deep mysteries to me before. He had taught me about the laws of the planetary progression, the rebirth, the vital diet, and of the great importance of the building of the solar body. I could see now that all of these were perfect in alignment with the great cosmic plan of the Supreme Being. The wise ones and from Venus are serving that plan, not by violent force, but by restraining the influence of loving kindness. Not by taking away from us what we have already acquired, but by adding to the destructive earthlings the necessary factors to make us constructive and harmonious. Humanity on Earth has reached a decisive midpoint into planetary progression, but into the greatly behind that it be more spirituality, into being the remedy of the Venusians and to our own elder space brothers. that are teaching us the personal example we too may assist in the furthering of the great plan. I resolved in to start at once applying what I had already been taught in regarding the secret to the sciences, which, as you know, is based on a living form from the inner soul center rather than a mere outer appearance. The first step in according to Lanzara was recognize the universal nature of life, love, and light. Very well, from now on, I would consciously be more highly aware that I dwell in a living universe with every entity, mineral, plant, animal, and human partaking of a one great life. That's Goth's theory of evolution. Also, every entity is evolving into a state of self-consciousness wherein it is at last recognized into its own divinity. Life is great, positive. It is the universal father of all creation. Next, consider how the second principle, love, looking about me, saw evidences everywhere of the presence of love. Not simply human affection, but rhythm, harmony, which keeps things, people, and thoughts in order instead of chaos and confusion. I looked at my own office desk. It was cluttered with papers that should have been filed neatly away. Only by putting these papers in order would I be able to create and build anything constructive from them. Love was not only a visionary thing, it was intensely practical as well. It is by our use of love that we are able to bring forth order, harmony, and into our daily lives, and thus bring forth some useful and constructive results. In this matter, we are and to be able to use the tools and the talents that we possess and to create the things of beauty and the value for the human race. Without sufficient love, orderly activity, that we lack constructive power. The solution is to become more consciously aware of the principle of disorder and right into the relationship neatness in every one that our daily actions. You have heard that love is the fulfilling of the law. Non-destructive activity is the keynote of love. And truly it is. And for the law is life. It is to have a life and have it more abundantly, as the Master Jesus proclaimed. And by practical means of the useful creativity of the activity, you and I and all mankind can produce the most great desirable conditions for the manifestations of still a greater life. In all of our activities, there is no need to use brute force. Love never seeks to take anything apart. It only harmonizes and adds to instead of take away. That is the secret. Intelligence guides love, and by being more orderly, that we become more constructive and creative, and success and soon become automatic. As I want to be into my daily routine, I began to recognize love as the being of the universal mother. The force that protects all life by keeping it well ordered and secured is the same law that applies to man that it does to the great universe. Love is the signified by the minus sign, and to denote it serves the universal law by cooperating with it non-destructively. In addition, this practice of giving more conscious attention into the existence of the Trinity principles, I also determined to make that more of my daily diet consisted of 100% vital foods. These were and to be the natural state of uncooked, unprocessed by man. In a line of Lanzara suggestion, I have laid out for myself a real New Age diet and began to get accustomed to it by the easy stages. Breakfast consisted of delicious fresh fruit with almond nut milk. Lunch included a salad, more tender, green, leafy vegetables sprouted of alfalfa seeds, grated carrots, and a sliced cucumber. Homemade salad dressings, untoasted wheat germs. It was sprinkled liberally over the salad. As a result, was the most delectable dish, super compromised of a different kinds of fruits, with more of the nut milk. This, in a brief, was my basic program. I began to prefer it to my old ways of living and eating. During the day, I try to imagine how it would be to live on a planet where a negative condition no longer exists, and to hamper human progress, Venus must surely be a planet, and somehow great and to wise of the lords of Venus discovered the secrets of the developing a truly constructive, creative, and godlike race of beings. What the secrets might be, I could not guess. No doubt it was based on the practical knowledge of the applications of the Trinity principles. Life, love, and light. Then too, Venus's Earth and the elder sisters and the inhabitants of Venus had millions of years more time than we, and which was to be developed and practiced the secret sciences. Earth is a hard school. I thought of many negative ordeals we earthlings go through while we are here on this planet. The list is so long and impressive, but now it all adds up to be a great big negative. To mention only a few Earth's extremely into undesirable conditions, considering the disease, a vast host of ills in which a man cut down is his very own prime. Factory strikes. People out of work for weeks at a time, layoffs, and good workers fired because of a decline in business, or because the company thinks a younger man or woman can do the job better. Money inflation, in which the purchasing power of the dollar becomes less and less, taxes, national debt, depressions. The fact that money is hoardable and earns interest for you if you keep it out of circulation depresses the economy and of the nation and creates debt. Idle money creates poverty, envy, hatred, and war. A host of ills. There is a problem of smog in cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and others. This is a negative condition that has yet to be solved by our scientists, yet smog had been proved a serious factor in the undermining health of men, women, and children. Those whose livelihoods depend upon working in such cities have remained to them and put up with the breathing of polluted air. The weather disasters out of their toll human lives. Earthman has no real control over the weather and can only try to protect himself against the freezing cold blizzards, the lashing furies of hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and manifest on Earth and sometimes of every year. Crime also has in a multitude of forms. It takes a heavy toll not only to the human lives, but also into men's peace of mind, soul, and hourly on the globe. Food processing is another negative of the factors and earth-like God's natural vital nutrients, and for the foods earth-like are taken by men and subjected into the ungodly processes such as pickling, roasting, toasting, boiling, freezing, dehydrating, pasteurizing, frying, and so forth until modern man is hardly put into finding foods that still has life left in it. Happily, the organic movement is growing in the popularity upon the USA, and this is a big help. It believes that food should be grown in rich organic soil and that the use of chemical fertilizers and poisonous sprays should not be used. The ever-present threat of war is with us earthlings, and to increase our miseries, people of America live in fear of being blown into bits by atomic hydrogen bombs of Russia. As from the people of Russia, they live in fear of being disintegrated by hydrogen bombs shot from the USA. Both sides are working overtime just to make more bombs and guided missiles just in case a push-button war should rear in its ugly head. It would be just as easy to list many more conditions on Earth than humanity finds exceedingly unpleasant, if not entirely hellish. However, there is no need to go into grim details. You know them as well as the possibilities better than I do. The only conclusion in our Earth is Earth is a hard school. And this for the very reason, and to those of us who graduate from Earth's School of Hard Knocks, will be more spiritually powerful than those under the favorable conditions of other planets who haven't yet learned how to master all that is negative. Bro, my goodness. After I'd finished into my day's work, I enjoyed a simple, wholesome, delightful supper at home, and then began into my usual preparations, and from a teleshot communication with Alonzara, I looked forward eagerly into hearing about the Venetian mode of life, and how it compared with our own life on Earth. At 6:30 p.m., I made mental contact. Greetings, my brother. The velvet smooth voice from my Venetian teacher I can see by reading the electronic thought pattern of the subconscious mind that you have been thinking deeply today on the power of the meaning of the three principles. We are glad that you are being prepared into being applied into the instruction given into you. For it is by an application of truth that you shall gain mastery over all that is undesirable. Yes, Lanzara, I replied, your personal visitation last evening has explained into my mind and soul the deeper understanding of all that you have told me. I am open into whatsoever you may wish to teach me. For I know not that unto myself and all of humanity on earth are in great need of your cosmic wisdom. It is an innermost conviction into the secret science of the Venetians, and can and shall exist into the bringing of the positive conditions, and to bring on this earth. We are tired of living with fear. Fear is one of the most damaging of the seven forces of negative. Boy, I've been saying this, said Lazara, and yet it is easily subdued into the master fear, learning to see beyond it. Recognize some good to come out of an experience of trouble. Lessons and blessings, that's it, nothing else. And the fear of it will go. You must understand that there is only one power into this universe, and that is it's good. Its three aspects you have already learned: life, love, and light. Now you must learn that you have two choices to make. Boy, I swear it. Option A or B. To make in regard of the one power you may attempt to block its action through the ignorance of its true nature. You may use it to bring about the environments or the situations in which you can react pleasantly and positively. If you are unwise and choose the first mood of action, the inevitable result will be unpleasant. Reactions of such as dis-ease, insecurities, and so forth, the one power is still working, but is it hindered and being obstructed into the normal channels? This is the simple cause of the most outer troubles of mankind and earth today. They are trying foolishly to change the natural action of the one universal power. However, the one power cannot be changed until it comes from the absolute. Man's wrong use of it and to react adversely unto himself. If you use wisdom and choose the second mode of action, you had to become a conscious cooperator in a great plan, and then you will no longer suffer from the forces of the negative. Remember that the only one power is always good, even when it is being blocked by a man so that it may become to react negatively. For the example, sickness is good for you when you need it. It serves and to help awaken the nature's laws of health. When you learn those laws and apply into them, get well, see the undesirable negative. It is good for you when you need it, but it is still better to not need it. The central light are of diamond star. On Venus, all that your people of Earth consider negative, discordant, and destructive has long ago vanished. Crime, poverty, wars, disease, old age problems, and numerous others of unpleasant conditions do not exist on our planet. That it is why we called it a positive world. Picture yourself living in a world that sees things as they are instead of how they appear to be, and you will have some idea of a magic life that awaits you when you graduate to Venus. This is our secret. We have found the diamond star within ourselves. Each of us, men, women, and children on Venus, has discovered the central light that dwells into the center of our being. This light is the star most true and to divine to the universe. It is the most intense brilliance, and like a great diamond, each Venusian has taught into the diamond star, then he or she has freely placed upon the personal will and the line and its guidance. To us, anything else would be unthinkable, most foolish. Thus, we become active and conscious cooperators in the universal plan. Therefore, on Venus, you will find no negative, and to be and to retard your future forward progress into the greater life, love, and have already guessed the average Venetian builds into complete an expression around the three primary principles, and he does this freely and by his own choice. This was my other dream where we were on a purple planet with everything looked like it looked wild. It was, and then there was like, you could jump off that cliff and nothing happens. Try it. And I was on a little crane cart. I was like, all right, I'll try it, dude. I started falling, but towards the bottom, it like gravity did something strange. Like there was no, on Halo, how you could jump and then you land, but there's no fall damage. It was same. I don't know how it exists like that, but it was like that. And it is always placed before given a prime importance over the desire, so that the desire becomes a purpose. Each purpose is automatically in harmony with the great universal will of the creator of all. By putting intelligence before the power, and the result is always in constructive and beneficiary. And two, by putting the power before intelligence, the result is chaotic and destructive. Earthlings are only now to learning this. The magic of positivity, of positivized intelligence. It is really possible for humanity, even the advanced beings such as your people of all of Venus, and to so eliminate the human errors that all their efforts are positive and the constructive into the harmony of God's will. I inquired. Millions of years ago, Lonzar began before the long and benevolent reign of the Sunat Kumara and his lords. Our world was quite similar to your planet Earth. It was both negative and positive, and its activity and an expression of our people had not yet to learn into the secret on how to live from a divine center within themselves. We did not realize into the consciously that the positive world demands into the development of the positive intelligence. What is positive into the intelligence? It is simplicity, and the simply to use your reasoning of faculties and to guide and direct the two universal forces of life and love and constructively, so that the result was being well benefit of the humanity rather than bring injury, suffering, and death into it. On your planet, divine love is not recognized, and fear rules over mankind. Why? Because in a place that recognizing love into one of the primary universal principles and becoming the channel for healing, harmonizing, and sustaining power, the majority of the earthlings have substituted the law of force. Each man, woman, and seeks his or her own happiness and forgets the existence of others. This is the contrary to the cosmic plan. For we know that each human being is like unto the individual brain cell of the Supreme Being, and by its means being inconceivable in a number of human beings on the planet and through the cosmos, and the galaxy alone is the Milky Way, an estimated 20 million planets that are inhabited. The one universal mind is manifesting in itself. Under the spiritual guidance of the Sanat Kumara, the first of the Lord of Thinkers of Venus is the people of who saw the wisdom of living in tune with the universal plan, which was required unto man, thinking to guide the forces of life and love, which already existed and were eternal in nature. And what was the need of overtaking things by force from others? All we needed was a picture in our minds of good things and two of life, and believe in the law of love. And to us, this meant harmonious, constructive creation and creative activity, as an abundance of all good things was thus easily produced and wisely distributed by an economical system that requires no money, no trading, no exchanging of anything. It is neither communism nor socialism, but a far superior system to anything the earth has ever known. Not even your best utopian dreams have our plan. And then there's Jimmy Neutron looking sign onto the right with the sun in the center. What is the use of hurting, deceiving, killing our fellow humans beings are taking the lives of animals for food? We saw that all of these living life forms are part of one great life and essence of our own life. That's Goth's theory of evolution. Why should we hurt and kill ourselves? We learned that love never takes things apart. It only adds to them and holds them together in line with the cosmic plan. The cities and governments on Venus are designed to be conforming to the laws of structure found on the physical atom. Then I said, your great secret is to live and create and build in conformity with the principles of the universal will. Look at the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was trying to establish this, but it got shut down. And not only that, they try to take somebody else's idea and use it for their own, and they stole his stamp from his Bible. Yes, that is, and the Venusians know now that any other path is but an illusion. Let me describe our cities to you. They are designed simply in harmony with the structural principles of the physical atoms. The atom is only one central nucleus from which is the greatest positive light that radiates out from the several electrons revolving around about it. The Venusians' supreme government is based on this pattern. We have but a mighty executive center for the whole planet. At this center, which is to be composed of the three great circular dome-shaped buildings made of the special crystalloid material. Boy, I had this in my dream. The Lord thinks of the dwellers as they are masters of the vital force and to be motivated solely and by love and light. Their intelligence and the executive ability, and two, the soul qualities are the highest of all beings on our planet. Extending outwards from this central nucleus, it likely spikes and radiating from the hub of the wheel of the 8 magnificent highways leading into the 8 great cities. Each of these cities has 4 highways of its own leading into the 4 other cities. Each and a part of the 4 cities has 2 highways leading into 2 cities. This pattern is continuing around the planet. No disruption. How interesting, I said. Would you tell me something of the physical feature of your planet and something that customs of your people? I suppose your planet has resemblance to the Earth in many ways. It does, some said Lanzara. Exception that Venus is far more highly electrified than the Earth, and it contains a greater relative proportion of radioactive matter, and within its nucleus or core, this causes our planet to emit a halo of radiant matter from its north and south poles. There is, however, nothing fiery about this self-emitted planetary light. It is a phosphorus glow similar to aurora borealis and australis, and northern and southern light, and being produced on your old planet Earth. This radiance is not hot but cool. If you were in a spaceship at a height above 2,000 miles above Venus, you would see this tremendous halo of brilliant light. It rests like a shimmering rainbow in a colored blanket over our peaceful world. At a distance at about 300 miles, the surface of Venus, this blanket light merges into darkness, yet beneath the light you could see the whole sphere of Venus illuminated not only by its own halo, a self-emitting radiance, but also into the daylight, producing into the solar energy of this coloring of the clouds' masses is the breathing in its effect. The gorgeous hues and the iridescent colors and the tints give into this land's areas are being spectacularly beauty and for transiting that of Earth. Why Venus needs no moonlight. By day, this halo is self-emitting in a radiance because Venus becomes invisible by reason of it overpowering in the brightness light of it being produced in an atmosphere by electrical energy and from the sun, but by night it becomes visible as an aurora and provides a continuous light equal to that of the full moon on Earth. It is by this reason that Venus has no moon, no need for none. Of its height and night is light supplied by its own self-luminosity, bioluminescence. Doesn't to be an luminous halo around Venus obscure your view of the stars, are heavenly bodies from the surface of the planet I inquired, scarcely at all, and not being more than the light of the earth's moon obscures and the stars from the people on earth. Now relaxing for a moment, hold the telolith stone in your forehead, and I will show you a view of our planet via Mentavision. I did so in the full glorious scene burst upon my mental screen. I could see a surface of Venus. It was so clearly as though I was above looking down at it. I watched the spellbound beauty of the awesome sight. Great mountains, forests, and valleys were revealed, and by my mind's eyes, the coloring of everything was magnificent. Bro. The coloring of everything was magnificent, with pastels, pinks, greens, yellows, blues, and predominating oceans, rivers, lakes much like ours. The coloring differed. Lush vegetation covered the great valleys. I saw that homes and buildings were constructed differently than ours. Homes were mostly single-story dwellings located at some distance from the cities. And this design was not always the same, but circular dome-shaped homes seemed to predominate. They appeared to be made of some kind of translucent crystal or plastic substance. It's crystals. Oh my goodness, bruv. Each home occupied a large individual area of land. I noticed that many people built beautiful homes on the mountainside, similar to the custom in the Hollywood Hills of California. A great network of highways observed and with numerous vehicles moving at tremendous speeds over them. Most impressively to me were the spacecraft that dotted the skies above the planet. They were cigar-shaped with some spherical, like miniature planetoids, and some bell-shaped, and that too being the simple shape of discs. In size, some into wondrous vehicles exceeded above 1,000 feet in diameter. Thus then was my visual impression of Venus incomparable to Earth. Venus has more land area, while the Venetian oceans, thought to be deeper, and cover somewhat a smaller proportion of the surface. The scene was thrilling and beyond the wonderful words, but lasted only a few moments and then faded out. Lanzara had spoke. Creativity and activity is the keynote of our planet. Bro, I've been trying to... There is a reason for our people to be idle, bored, and discontented, and for each individual knows that he or she is taking an integral part of a great noble cause. This system, likened to himself, is in a process of ever becoming and more perfect. However, the basic structure of our system is built upon the universal principles in the same way that the atom is built. It is for this reason that the circles predominate into all of our buildings, cities, and our spacecraft. Venetians are a rare species of people, and they are highly industrious, but into the artistic and deeply creative way. Our system develops a more real initiative into these peoples that simulates into them and serve an uplift into another by giving them an incentive and far more powerful than money. I shall explain more here briefly. Into the incentive, it is a quicker promotion by the kingdom of the sun, and for who serve most abundantly. This is more glorious and a reward than any money. Each man, woman, child of Venus realizes that the great benefits and through the service rendering into the relation and to others. But you must understand that this is a service, and it is not to any way compulsory, but voluntary. And it is mostly mind, soul activity. Free energy being derived from the solar light energy provides our entire planet with power that has no limit and costs nothing, except the Vedic effort to acquire and to channel it and direct it. The landing vehicles you saw on the highways of Venus are powered by magnetic light energy. Boy, I swear something be like a wee bit little, boy. I swear it could like, boy, it should be like, shoo. It's magnetic light engines. Bro, I was saying this magnetic propulsion. Ah! They're absolutely silent, carry a force field of energy which protects the passengers against all accidents, even at tremendous speeds. I was saying this, more. There are no jails on Venus since crime is inconceivable. Two sincere beings whose souls' development matches their mental and physical development. The Lord thinkers require what we call the Trinity ratings of each citizen several times yearly. This shows the following data: intelligence, RIQ, executive ability, and soul progression. Persons whose soul progression rating falls below a certain levels are given special assistance so that the ratings are increased. We have no hospitals on our planet, for each man and woman has his own doctor within. And relays the implicity upon the healing factors in which keeps balance always in favor of health. Our very way of life builds positive health, and for we are to live mostly outdoors and in the sunshine and the fresh air, and we eat foods that have been super energized by the sun. Our food comes primarily from tree crops and provides us within the variety of subtropical fruits, nuts, and yes, the beneficial teas. No animal foods are there and to be used except for honey. There are no cattle on our planet, nor are there any carnivorous animals. Animals are not used for food nor for service. By Venetians, as a result of virtually disappearing from our planet, however, our world has an abundance of seed-eating songbirds and with beautifully colored plumage. Also, our planet has an industrious usefulness of insects as a bee, ant, and off the note, the bee and ant were brought into the earth by the Sanat Kumara, Lord Thinkers of Venetius, and to the 18,000 years ago, 18 million years ago. My goodness. And 33 million years ago, we created the Emerald Tablets. And so we should be abiding by the Emerald Tablets, but whoever translated them ought to fix that. Although we have no hospitals as such as to Venus, as we do maintain special healing centers wherein our individual is taught in the power of the applications of the life-tronic healing, as well into the use of the color, sound, music, and personal key, the vibrational or the ray, and perfume. Life-tronic healing pertains into a mental method of healing of one's own body, or that into another being of the life electrons of the life vitrons, in which are universally present in all of space. A veritable stream of these energy units can be so directed into mentally that they will flow at once into the body or out, and the command of the healer. Life-tronic healing has been superseded as a materia medica and surgery on Venus. They're using Latin. I'm about to geek out. For by our mental direction of life, trons, that we are able to alleviate all pain, restore physical and vital balance, and to heal the wounds instantly. Now, Michael, said my cosmic teacher, we shall discontinue our telepathic communication, and for tonight, tomorrow evening I shall reveal much more new information into you. It will relate to a specific parts into the strange and powerful phenomena of the soul powers now possessed by highly developed Venetians. Ponder carefully at the steps that we had all covered up to this point. For the next step, we will be truly to understand only when you have mastered the teachings you have already received. I bid you good night, beloved friend. In accordance with Lanzara's suggestions that I made carefully and to full review, during the next day and all that had been taught into regarding the secret science thus far, and to my astonishment and delight, I had discovered that my ability to grasp and understand more important rudiments of the sciences had been understood to the importance greatly increased, that there were the directness and simplicity into this and this new way of thinking, living and loving. I felt that way more soon to be received into a greater revelations, and from Lanzara that would open up into me startling into unrealizing the vistas of the powers of the dwelling within each true child of the nature. That evening, contact and by telethought was again to be resumed. My teacher from Venus, because I had sensed that this new lesson would be on a vital subject of the Venetian soul powers and their practical methods of the development. I had prepared a number of questions which I had asked for Lanzara. The answers and a number of questions he gave, these questions proved not only to be quite an astounding, but also into the interesting and enlightening as well. I have listed for the questions and answers by the number of your convenience in studying them. The magic of the two primal elements. You have previously mentioned into the primal elements, electricity and viscosity, and am I corrected in believing that these two primal elements are the basis of all material and mental phenomena? It is so, beloved friend. All these things of which animate are all matter, and mind and soul are made up of the two primal elements, electricity and viscosity, and that in these, their ultimate nature and the units of the vibratory energy, or if you prefer, the vibration of one God Spirit. What is the source of these universal vibrations? The great central sun at the vortex or the hub is the cosmic universe under the mental direction of the supreme being that revolves in space, and it being revolved into produces the electrons, the vitrons, which move outwardly into the center to fill all of space. Space is charged with these two electric vitic units of vibratory energies, and that they are, since a great central sun is constantly being turned on its axis, more and more energy units are being produced. Hence, the cosmic universe, though finite, is ever expanding, and what into the characteristic qualities of each of these two primal elements also. May I understand the separating functions of the electricity and the viscosity? I have a video where I posted about this. The two primal elements in having the quality of energy, this is due to the fact into the units of electricity and viscosity, namely into the electrons and the vitrons, in which are the state of the continual vibration. Now let us see which causes the electrons and the vitrons to vibrate. Into the electron in the unit of electricity, it is always to be polarized into the positivity, and the negative force is called into ions. The unit of viscosity, the vitron, is polarized into the positive, and the negative force is called the vions. It's V with an ion. So vions. And to the positive ion, electricity is attracted into its force, and the negative ion is repulsive force. But the vion's viscosity is to show a reverse polarization. The positivity vion being repulsive, and by the negative vion being an attractive. The positive attracts, the negative repels, and positive repels, and the negative attracts. And that's how they do the magnetism. And I was talking about this. This is how they build stuff. They were this and the grand scheme of everything, and to build these. Oh, bruv, I might geek out like too hard tonight. The two opposing ions of electricity and electron are never entirely separable, and so are in a constant agitation and waging, as it were, into a kind of warfare. This continual agitation, and by the opposing attractive and repulsive, into each electron consists of an electronic vibration. It is more important for you to know the opposing vions, and to each unit are the vitron, and to the viscosity are likewise ever entering into the entirely separable, and hence they are also incessantly exerting upon each other their forcing of opposing energy, thereby causing the phenomenon of vitic force and vitronic vibration. If an electron acquires a larger number of positive attracting ions that a smaller number of negative ions is repelling, that it is known to as a positive electron. But if an electron accumulates more negative ions that it has a positive ions, then it becomes a negative electron. This applies into the vitron. If vitron has a greater quantity of positive vions in a proportion of the negative ions, then we call it positive vitron. And if it accumulates more negative ions in a positive, then we term it to a negative vitron. In nature, that is the universal space where these two primal elements of electricity and viscosity are to be produced into the phenomena, which is either a positive or a negative in effect. Electricity, for example, causes two different kinds of electrical phenomena, and two according to whether the electrons are positive or negative. On Venus, electricity is classified thusly. The primal elements of electricity, there's a permanent phenomena and an intermittent phenomena. Magnetism. Light included sunlight, starlight, planetary, daylight, and the aurora borealis. We just read a book and we was talking about this. Gravitational weight, momentum, cohesion, adhesion, chemical affinity, X-rays, zodiacal lights, zodiacal lights into comets' tails. Volcanic action, levitation, this has to do with sus, into sustaining and retention of the heavenly bodies in their orbits so they do not fall upon the sun or approach too near into the other space worlds. Ocean currents, atmospheric storms, weather conditions, movements of the sun, stars, and planets and other heavenly bodies in space, cleansing of the atoms which are to constitute the human physical organism. Negative electrons can be directed by vital force into these human minds and to repulse old worn out cells out of the body. This aids in healing. Most physical and motor action, creation of all matter, expansion of the human body. You will at once notice the phenomena of electricity, whether all positive and negative, are all purely physically built into character, whereas the phenomenon of viscosity were always mental, vital and sensory into the effects. The Venusian sequence in the Venusian secretary sciences and classifies the phenomena of viscosity as follows: positive vitrons, negative vitrons, attractive vitron vibrations, repulsing vitronic vibrations, a permanent phenomena, an applied phenomena. Under the permanent phenomena, all life in its higher or more highly animated states. This includes all of the numerous levels of life found in the vegetable and all human kingdoms. The human soul or soul mind, also termed the subconscious mind or an inanimate mind, into a man, subconscious memory, subconscious intellect, creation of life, its concept of it in an entity. Applied phenomena, the conscious mind, subliminal mentality, thoughts and thinking, feeling, sensation, emotion, and hypnotism, all mental action and concluding of the telepathy, prayer, clairvoyancy, mental television, clairredundance, or the mental hearing, into the clairscience, into what's being a mental feeling, as in psychometry. Clairaudience, or the mental smelling, clairseverance, into the mental taste, electronic healing, teleportation, materialization into the dematerialization, occult levitation, death and soul transferring into the reincarnation, mental direction of the physical forces. That's why in your dreams you could fly. My goodness. Electricity then is, broadly speaking, into the substance of all matter. Yes, into the second primal element, into the viscosity of the substance of all of life, mind, and soul. Do the two primal elements mingle within each other in nature, or do any remain separated from each other? They always accompany each other and are always united and commingle into a greater or less proportion. Just as the positive and negative ions in the electron are never entirely separable and from each other, likewise the electron and the vitron are never entirely separable. Together, these tiny but powerful units of electrical and vital energies are the electron, the vitron, that perform into their different functions and throughout all the universe are together, and they create a constituent into all that is. What happens into the electricity that preponderates over the viscosity into a form of matter, the phenomenon? Use of mind without the love forces of the soul never leads to mastery. When an accumulation of the electrons exceeds that to the vitrons and to the two elements of the manifest of the electrovitrons, conversely, if the proportion of the viscosity and to increase that into the preponderance into over the electrons and the electrovitrons, and that are into once being converted into the vitron electrons, on Venus we have discovered that the converting of the electrovitrons into the vitro electrons are to be accomplished by the mental concentration, and that by being the direction of the elemental soul force, namely positive attraction vitrons. Thought force alone can move nothing. Soul force must be utilized in all higher creativity in the process. When my avatar Jesus came into your earth, he revealed that this truth unto you when he said, "Which of you, by taking though alone, can add into a cubit of his stature?" Herein, we find that the cause can add 1 cubit into his stature. Of the most earthman's misfortunes, he imagines, though the vitrons are important to him, that the soul vitrons, this is the quite serious of the mistake that I shall come to realize. That's what I was saying. What you put into the universe, you get back measured in cubits. And I was so overly whelmed by the cubit measurements and the systems in which all of the buildings were like, it was displaying this to everyone through stone. Like everything was built in cubits, multiplied into being perfect in harmony with one in the self. And these buildings are just wildly built. Can you reveal to me the essential differences between the Earth man and the Venus man? The difference is primarily in the degree of the soul and the power of the wisdom possessed by each being. The average earthling does and living from his or her true soul center. Instead, he worships the false gods are of a power, passion, and pride. The ego, bruv. You see what's the quality of power, passion, and pride in two half aspects into being destructive, and the other of the constructive. These earthlings who worship material power are exemplified by the I'm just material. Yep. Wow. The atomic bomb, guided missiles, guns, etc., and who display the passion and further remaining ignorant of the higher laws of the universe and who take great pride in their ability to injure, kill, or do anything negative into the living creatures, are using destructive negative aspects and to create a great trinity. These results into conditions in which your world would term hell. Bruv. If the human rulers of the earth are mass-minded with reverse of their true attention and from the negative, positive aspects of power, passion, pride, and to be desiring to the power of life more abundant in the development of a worthy passion of light, cosmic wisdom, and the more taking a genuine pride into their ability of love and sustaining all of God's creatures, they were thereby manifest the new age and the conditions of heaven on earth. Oh, bro. Earth man is far more overbalanced in the development of the material power, passion, pride, and the considerable under the development in the soul power, passion, pride. And the first is a negative or destructive aspects, and the second is the positive constructive aspect, which we may illustrate this by the picturing of the example of the simple balancing scale as follows. If you believe in too much material power, you lose your soul power, status of Earth man in general. Now let us illustrate the status of a Venus man. Material power is on the equivalent of soul power, and your soul power has to equal an abundance, and to gain the material power, you are judged and by what you deliver into the universe. And that's how you gain wealth. If you're a high energy being, that you will now be rich. You are based off of what you are putting out into the universe, creating heaven on earth. My goodness. Notice that a Venus man has greatly increased his soul power, enabling him to wisely govern and balance the material power. That's what I was saying. If you find this all out, you figure this all out, you have the keys to the universe, everything else becomes secondhand nature. Everything from saving money to being kind to one another and to develop a level of building your kingdom is now something unlocked. And you don't fight the process. It isn't nails on a chalkboard. It's going to be magnetic propulsion. Ah, my goodness. The spiritual aspect of life, love, and light are well understood by the Venus man, expressed through the higher soul qualities of powers. Hence, Venus man is able and to be ever willing to assist Earth man into the unfolding of the soul powers. And for you have seen into the material power can only be balanced by a higher God sense, a sense of good. In fact, lies that the special relationships that exist between the Venus and the Earth, that we of Venus are a step beyond your evolutionary status. While the people of Mars are only one step below your level, Mars cannot assist you in the upward direction while Venus is able to. Will you describe into being briefly these higher powers? Yes, however, I wish into the state and first to be every individual powers on Venus fully recognizes in the divine origin of these soul powers and is taught by the proper use made by them. Also in the manner in which proceeding from attaining the required results and avoid all harm and obtain nothing but good. On earth, the conscious mind is being deemed the normal mind into being, but in the truth of this phase, the mind is extremely limited in its power. Bro, that's why I was saying in meditation that you could do anything. Anything. And that's why I was saying in meditation, I know this is how they built the old world buildings. Also, you will know into the degree in the diagram of the visticity. That's why they're so perfect. That and the conscious mind being obligated to draw a soul mind subconscious are for the information containing into the subconscious memory and intellect. The soul mind consisting of the positive vitrons, which are attractive into nature and hence able to attract and tune in upon negative vitrons anywhere in the universe. That's what I was saying. You could, oh, bruv. And when Earth man uses into his conscious mind, ignores his soul mind, and is unable to accumulate the sufficient vital forces and demonstrates it to the higher power of the soul, this blocks his soul progressiveness. And two, on a higher plane of the intellect and the mentality in which are being prevails into on Venus, the powers of the soul mind and to reach out and to acquire the knowledge and through the mental senses are greatly and acquired and the knowledge into that which into the mental sense are greatly enhanced. And at the same time, however, the capability of the conscious mind to assume and maintain in the subjective state, and that thereby acquired into the utilization of the former vast resources of man, knowing and the knowledge of the possessed into by the soul mind is greatly increased. Thus on Venus is a normal mind more nearly in approaching into the subliminal state of mind, a more simple subliminal mind. The secret and science of Venus is its unlimited sense of consistency and its intelligence into the utilization of the soul mind, of the conscious mind, and the startling of the soul powers, and yet an undreamed of earth on the manifest into the Venetians. The men and women are becoming to all these higher phenomena are being a direct result of the subliminal mind of the activity on Venus, and being subliminally. The mentality is well developed by all, and the subliminal mindset and the negative vitrons acting above, developing by all. The subliminal state and the negative vitrons act upon the positive vitrons of the soul, and which in turn reacts upon the electrons of the matter. Thus we must control matter. This is what I was saying. You could turn stone to liquid, and using meditation, meditative state of consciousness, that you could shape anything. Now, that's why I was saying it was like a dreamland without you going to sleep. Now, as the actual powers you are already acquainted by somewhat what we call telethought, clair audience, and that which we are enabled to hear sounds of things and voices and persons not only far from beyond the ordinary range of hearing, but from other planets millions of miles in distance from our own. We also receive, as by a voice speaking into us, answers to all sorts of questions. Mentavision, the clairvoyance, or the faculty of mental seeing. Oh my goodness, bro. It is very closely aligned to telethought, for these senses are working into a similar manner. In telethought, the soul mind reaches into an outer Vedic induction, and that brings back into the physical brain of the vital vibrations of the sounds and the voices and emanating and from other persons with whom we are in mental attunement. In mental vision, the soul mind adventures out of this instant, it extends into a space of vitronic energy, and until it comes into the vibratory attunement, which similarly, the vibrations of a person may at any distant point into the solar system, then it brings back into the reverse induction of the vitrons. A living picture of an absent person and scenes into which that are being transpiring into any location of the universe, which we are to be indirect into our mind. We also make use of the faculty of microscopic and telescopic sight, from which we are enabled to see the most minute into the most distant objects with the naked eye. And through we were looking at them with a microscope or telescope, and the mind reading is one of the simplest mental phenomena. It is commonly in practice on Venus and on all other more advanced planets, and all advanced space beings can read thoughts of each other's, thus making the mind an open book to open those and to understand this process. And where the mind is an open book, there can be no deception. Deception breeds fear. Venus has no fear because it has no deception, and it has no developed such immense soul force that can be outside of an evil. Any outside evil can be neutralized instantly by the lords of Venus. And like all other mental phenomena, the mind reading is accomplished and through the utilization of visticity, and that involves both telepathy and the reading knowledge that's stored into the subconscious, into the other persons or a particular person. This in the process we are projecting of vitronic vibrations of our own soul mind into the soul mind of the subconscious subjects, and so that we, in vibration of the two soul minds, commingle and one with each other, that we may become of a conscious utilization of the thoughts contained into the soul mind of another person. Our intellectual powers are vastly extended by that into the manner in which we are educating on Venus, that we learn all of our lessons into being the subliminal state of mind, which does not weaken or get into any way to injure of any sensual faculty or function of the outer physical being, but rather the increases of our powers that brings them into the highest degree of the organic perfection. Students on Venus are able to record instantaneously knowledge, power, and data from any book process that we call psychotyping, in which a mere glimpse of a single second at any page in the book is sufficient enough and for the students to retain into their memory the whole contents of it. This is where I was saying, like, hey, yo, if you study a book enough before you go to bed, that when you go to bed, you could snap into where the book is bringing you to, and the timeline in which it was created, and live in that timeline and understand the nature of the book and the timeline in which it was created in. Oh, bro. This is wow, far out. This is radical, dude. And by slight extension of this in the faculty of the students being obtained to the references from and even to the perfect knowledge being transcribed into the works which are known and to exist in the certain libraries at a far distant places. I have 4,000 books that I might just open up the front page to. I didn't just do that. The students are also able, by soul power, to identify themselves perfectly with everything and belonging to the places spoken within their study of geography, geology, and etc. And so that they feel, even though as they are in the actual spot mentioned. Bro, if I... They appear unto themselves to be not wherein the lessons are conducted, but in the very places being studied. Seeing, hearing, and feeling that all they require unto of the desire to see, hear, or feel. This is as you will, and to being realized that it makes an education for our young people of Venus the easiest of all things into the real assessment, into the recreation, instead of being, as it is placed now into planet Earth, a slow, tedious, fatiguing process. I already went to Venus in my dream. I can't believe that's what it was. And it was big. It was so big that, like, nah. Man, Earth looked like a little joke. Of Venus, and for many ages, the principles of levitation, overcoming of gravity, and psychokinesis, and moving from material object by mind, and being commonly applied for such practical purposes, and the lifting of the heavy and ponderous bodies, and the excavating of removing soil and rock, and for the structural buildings. Old world buildings, the pyramids, all of that. Bro, my goodness, I can't believe it. And to the personal transportation of limited nature, in which where all the human body is used to being levitated conveyance into an aerial navigation by means of small or large spacecraft. Your flying saucers are not affected by the gravitational pull of planets, stars, or suns. Each space disk creates its own artificial gravity by means of gyroscopic rotations in the force field of negative electricity. Planetary gravity and pull is thereby multiplied by the source of energy used to operate. The disks come from the spatial ethers, in which are, as you know, are composed of the primal elements, electrons, and the combination of vitrons, by directing the electrons from the space to produce the force field of the electro-vitronic light, were generative, paramagnetic, attractive, or diamagnetic repulsive forces. I was telling, this is how they move stuff. Anything you can, magnets, the mastery of how spaceships operate. And to the impelled disk at speeds approaching that of light itself, it has to spin at 60,000 revolutions per minute. How does it do that if anything today we build or create would disintegrate itself? Now, in my dream, in the crystalline structure well, that there was a water within the well, and that you could breathe this water in inside the spaceships, I believed that there was this water, and that's why there was the space tech in the well in my dream. The space tech in my dream was covered with all of this water, which had to have also been a dielectric water, which you could breathe and be in. And then the spaceship didn't have controls, in which if we did find the spaceship, which was in the pyramids and the emerald tablets, say there's a spaceship down there under the pyramids, that it cannot be controlled by a physical control. It has to be a mental telepathical control. But in order for this to even work, you have to be in attunement with the body. The mind and the soul have to be in tune. And so this is where the book of Enoch was talking about. You cannot walk through the gates, which is the constructs of the mind. Boom, the balance of the mind. Boom, how narrow it is. How narrow is it between the splits of the brain? Oh my goodness. And so the gates are small. You have to give up a material world to understand the soul within the self. You cannot be material based and soul based. It's one or the other. And that is not to say that you can't chase after big dreams, but it is to say that you must discover the self, and self discovery must come first before you chase material wealth. My goodness. And if you understood the self, that you would not seek an outside source stimuli. My goodness. Let alone to now understand the self. Now we are all interconnected with the interconnected consciousness, that you can now understand that you will not hurt an animal or another person. And if you did attempting to do so, that is negativity into the universe that you will receive measured in cubits in return. And it will age you faster than you have ever been aged. My goodness. This is, wow. All that is necessary to move matter through thought force, the Vedic energy, is to be able to accumulate a sufficient amount of potential of that force. A great key in this being the problem lies within the use of the special crystals that can not only accumulate vitrons, but focus and intensify their powers as well. Spaceships are directed by viscosity. Therefore, the heart rate of every vehicle is in its vitronic accumulator. It is, and to being composed of a series of these crystals. And so that's why when this technology was stolen way back in the day, that they couldn't even utilize it because they didn't understand the self-discovery and the balance of the harmony between women and men and the divinity within both. My goodness. They glow with a dynamic yellow luminescence, and when activated, this activates them in the vitrons in the subliminal mind and of the space pilot, and being direct into the space itself is using its own mind in the directive channel and for the universal energy. It is true that the Venetians are to teleport and to dematerialize the material body and to rematerialize it again. And that's something you could do subconsciously in meditation. You're able to snap out of the body, third person. You can go to any what conscious thing that you had walked past within the day before you hit the meditative state. Oh my goodness. At any other desired point in space, that's the I was talking about Jumper. Jumper is so duck and real that in your meditative state, all you need is a picture of something. You could visit that picture through your meditative state. You just need a picture, focus on a picture, and in your meditation, you could snap to wherever that picture was taken and the time it was taken and jump. You can't move the being there per se, but mentally in the subconscious mind, you could snap there in meditation. It is, however, practiced into only in part of our adapts, and that it is attained into the higher frequencies of the force density, and at this level of a solar body into adept has been completely but still not perfected. This is the freedom of the frequencies. You will understand this more easily if I recall your mind into the various vibratory levels of the frequencies of the human body. The gross set of the physical human body vibrates at a lower frequency of the third density. That's a 7.83, but it's being swapped out. Such an individual is very coarse and being stupid and animalistic in his expressions and his appearance, and that at the vibrational frequencies is increased or raised until the human body becomes more sensitive in its electrical matter and becomes more considerably into being finer. And watching the higher frequencies of the level of the third density is being reached by man, it is ready for life on Venus, where he begins on the lower frequency of the fourth density of vibration. Venus man then progresses upwards from the lower frequency of the fourth density into the higher frequency. It then becomes a master of teleportation at the 144 hertz. Now you're talking about how you could operate these craft. He or she is then ready to be in a higher life on the next advanced planet Mercury, the higher vibratory frequencies attaining to the easier it is and to the body to function on the particular density as being a gradual progress, and through up into the densities 3, 4, 5, 6, you realize that more freedom is your functional power. The final step is the seventh density of vibration. This is a high vibration of the solar body, and it must be achieved in order to take up your higher level of life. And upon the sun, these are all different levels of school. After the answering above the questions of Lanzara terminated by our mental communication, and for the evening, the subject of the next evening's lesson that be informed into me was the beings beyond the Venus, that which were the beings where they are located, now how they become and to be more wonderful in the individuals, where they are located and how they became wonderful. They would be made known into more. Moreover, however, humanity's true home, the supreme star, and some of its wonders would be one of the most important subjects of tomorrow's lesson. And delightful state of joyous anticipation, it is expressed in grateful thanks to the Venetian teacher and retired for the night. What is the name given into a unit of electrical energy and a unit of vital energy, which electricity consists of a positive electron and which it produces blank phenomena. When electricity consists of a negative electron, it produces blank phenomena. If electricity is the substance of all matter, then what is viscosity? Material power can be balanced by blank power. Special questions. Study lesson 7 first. Of all the bodies in the universe, which is the best adapted and for the highest expression of human life? What kind of beings live upon the supreme star? Who are the guardians of this earth? What is the glorious destiny of every perfected and matured human being in our galactic universe? Who are the guardians of this universe? Bruv. This is lesson 7. We're almost done with the book. Sad to finish it so fast, but the beings beyond Venus, the supreme star, whoa. The supreme star said Lonzar, and after telepathic connect and the contact had been again established until the following night, this is home and to be the perfected beings of the universe. Countless trillions of these perfected beings dwell on supreme stars at every very center hub in the universe. Tonight I shall tell you about those wondrous beings, how are and to be your own glorious destiny is to become perfected beings. First, however, I will reveal to you into some vital information by the mighty supreme stars and what is perhaps known unto you, the great central sun. What I'm about to reveal is the knowledge of the great cosmic magnitude, and you will find that to be quite easy and to be comprehended in these teachings, for the mind and the soul have been greatly expanded by the praises, the phases, and that being previously given unto you. All the planets of our solar system revolve about a sun, our fixed star. I don't know why it's doing that. A fixed star, our supreme star in the universe of a tremendously vast field called the galactic plane. This supreme controlling star is far largest into being highly electrified into the body of the universe. This is because it was the first into hence being the oldest body of finite matter in the universe. Of Venus, we have computed on diameter about the supreme stars to be about 120 billion miles and about 165 times larger than our sun. It is a mass and essential controlling star that exceeds into the being combined a mass of all other heavenly bodies, just as the mass of our own suns exceeds in the combination of all mass into his planets. A true home in the hub of the universe. The supreme star is by far the most perfectly adapted and for the highest expression of human life of any bodies of the universe. It's so large that it seems almost universe in itself. It is above the 7 density beings in the highest grade of human development, both physical and mental, and it is a plane of the omniscience and the omnipresence and the omnipotence, and by the means of the beings of the supreme star being attained to the knowledge of all things that is annihilating the space and time, so that they can travel anywhere in the universe instantly. This is the goggles. You put on the goggles and you teleport with a snap of a finger. And when you put these goggles on, for me, I was like, here we go again. And then it's like, and then a birth into the fleshly body. I thought that was like I don't know, but I already know what they're talking about. And have perfected an understanding of all cosmic forces which can be directed by the mental means and the power of the energy in the line in which the universal with all supreme beings. Do these perfected beings have physical forms like our own bodies? I asked. Indeed they do. My Venetian teacher replied, they possess a glorified body which is constructed of permanent atoms. This is why I got scared. My mama, she was like talking about the afterlife, not literally in that sense, but that there's something after this. And I was like, what do you mean that we don't just live forever? What? And I freaked out. I had like a big old breakdown for a month or two. I was like, Mom, are you sure? Are you certain? And my mom probably always questioned some of my thought processes as a kid, but it was funny because I was convinced that we lived for forever. I did not understand what anybody was talking about. That I was like, what? What do you mean? We don't just take the goggles off and we're back in the body? Wow. The seventh density. This is the substance of which the solar body is built, and the body is not subjected to death. It is immortal. Bro, I could smash this. It's smashing, bro. And being perfected is being the form of man, and through the taller, larger than earth man being, each is perfected of being into a distinctive individual. Unlike all other beings, it is masterful beyond description. A powerful radiance and light surrounds the body of each of these royal and majestic beings, and it is combined with the intelligence of all the perfected beings, which is the forms of the supreme mentality as the center hub of the universe. That's why there's a mother there. Ah, bro. That's who keeps visiting me in my dreams, bro. Over and over and over. And that's the same person who was on the spaceship. And when I was putting the goggles on, I was like, all right, here we go again. She was like, good luck. I'm like, phew. Oh, bro, you're going into a little time capsule when you do that. This book is so cool. My dreams aren't really just dreams no more. Each one of these beings is perfected by the expression or part of God in the exercises, God powered by mentally controlling and acting as a guardian of the great planets, stars, and suns in the universe. This great work is carried upon and under the mental direction of the control at first being perfected by being of who is known as the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being is our Heavenly Father from all human life, and the waves originate. And since the point of our origin, and for all humanity was a supreme star, a great central sun in which we must be to each and to us to find our way back to that central point. We shall then begin to be truly back home with our true Father and all of the glorious true friends and the perfected beings. Only then is a man's pilgrimage ended. This goal is said to be accomplished by the gradual ascending of each human soul in an upward progression via the 7 planets and the 7 densities. Yes, beloved earthlings, replied Lonzar, as all human life advances from one planet into another, the conscious mind comes from a more vibratory report, and that of the coordinated soul mind and the soul mind in turn, and acquires a more and more intellect and power of the understanding until finally the soul mind becomes possessed of omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. Every soul is seeking this mastery. Within the children of God shall reach of the 7th density, and which being perfected beings of the sun and their conscious minds will be in the capability of expressing their higher powers and their utilizing of them wisely, and upon the solar citizens then are free and to return to the supreme star if they so desire. This is the greatest reward bestowed upon a soul, to travel home. This is why in the book of Enoch, Enoch disappears. He achieved this level of understanding of all of this, and then Enoch just disappears off earth. No, he did not just disappear off earth. He said, I had enough. Let me check out. And to the magnificent supreme star, the greatest body of the universe, our galactic universe is a giant space disk. This is the galaxy in the Milky Way in which our solar system is located. It is shaped like a gigantic space disk, and see the illustrations on the next page. And like this space disk, there needs to be into a central intelligence within the disk and to operate and control it in space. This controlling center is the supreme star from which a supreme being applies into the great mental force is the visticity and to control all within the universe. Oh my goodness. Showing the oblate disc-like shape of our own universe in the Milky Way, note that the universe is like a giant cell or atom and a central nucleus controlling it, and the entire system maintains a perfect equilibrium by space whirring by a counterclockwise direction, causing gravitational note on the other galactic universes in space. Oh my goodness, bro. I don't want this book to end. I'm gonna slow down. Through the mental and soul powers of the supreme beings as the supreme star, is causing to rotate upon its own axis, and through the mighty physical electrodynamic effects of such a rotation, and other stars of the universe are propelled in their own orbits around the supreme star. So planets rotate around the sun, and the sun rotates around a supreme star, and we're being spun into some, wow. We're creating the flower to life with these poles and how they rotate. Wow. This is far beyond, you know, yeah. The supreme star is causing to rotate upon its own axis, and through the mighty physical electrodynamic effects and such, to being a rotation of all the other stars in the universe are propelled on their orbits of the supreme star. This causes them to rotate and turn upon their own axis, thereby extending into the electrovitic forces in the supreme sun and throughout all the universe. Thus, each helps the supreme sun and distributes its light and energy and throughout the universe. All is accomplished in a perfect rhythm and within its perfect precision under the supreme mental control of the supreme beings and his assistants, and the perfected ones who direct the mighty motive and to be in a creative force, which are to inherit the vibratory energies and the primal elements by means of the suns, of the supreme sun's electric magnetic forces being applied and throughout the process of its revolutions upon its axis. Each sun is a planet and asteroid of the galaxy is then rotated upon its axis. It moves with a tremendous speed, and through that into which the orbit of the two opposing forces, attractive and to be repulsive, electromagnetism from the supreme sun is to maintain it. And each body in turn thereby becomes an electro and a vitro magnet in the galaxy. Then these perfected beings, I said, serve as a great plan, and by acting as overseers, are guardians of various planets? Question mark. They are greater than planetary guardians, replied the Venetian teachers. Planetary guardians come from the suns of our solar systems, and from each the next, the higher advanced planet in their system. And for instance, Venus is the home of the Lord. Thinkers who act as guardians of the earth. It is for this reason the great conference are held on Venus periodically, and many higher beings that attended into these cosmic conferences, beings who live on our sun, often appear. These are the principal planetary overseers, perfected beings who dwell on the supreme sun and the guardians of the universe as a whole. And when they served into their higher executive capacity and for the sufficiency length of the time, and to earn most glorious privilege, and by creating energies in the ruling of the complete universe and of their own, as you realize, the galactic universe in which we live is only one of many universes that are in space. Each must have its own central government of intelligence, which are perfect beings. Are these perfected beings known as masters? I inquired. Lanzara. They are masters of the matter and of the life, and that are known as gods, with spelled a small g, and which they had attained in the rulership of the stars and the suns and the systems in the universe, which we all think of as God, spelled with capital G, which means the great assemblage of perfected beings within all the galactic universes, and through which cosmic space, this is the supreme intellect of these cosmic universes, not one, two, nor three personalities, but a great multitude of intellects who are in one purpose. This is a great assembly of God, a great omnipotence, dynamo, which is made up of all the perfected, matured human beings, into which be the advancement of the planets into another, and through the succeeding grade of knowledge, and are finally reached by the supreme star, and so have developed and encompassed all knowledge of becoming omniscience, and that being the glorious destiny and reward of every human being as a child of God. After having lived a series of lives in human form upon all the humanized planets in our solar system, then upon the sun, will eventually become one and with knowledge and the supreme intellect. each one in them with us, and then participate of as one the brain cells of the supreme mind in the further formation of the direction of the cosmic universe. Upon the reflection it will be, and to recognize the, instead of detracting from the superlative characters of God, this concept only serves as to magnify the glory of divine personality. And for after all, the higher minds of a soul, a man is truly living in the spark, the divine spirit, and that in the light of the truth of all humanity becomes blended into unity. What would they could, and to all expand their conscious and understanding of the great plains. This is our last page. No! Is there like a prologue? Now, Michael, I bid you to take these teachings and reveal them to your faithful friends, even as I have revealed them unto you. Let each individual start at once, right where he or she now is, and to bring life, love, and light ever more abundantly into the daily life on earth. Let love be the guiding principle that opens all the doors for you, heals all the inharmonies, and lifts you into that higher consciousness where you become literally one of us. Do not be dismayed by the vast extent of your great cosmic journey. Take the one step towards the master, that into the next phase will unfold. Look upwards as always and never downwards. Continue to raise your personal vibrations into the higher frequencies day by day, and to thinking of us as our secret science, as applying the instructions in the best of your ability. And when the great day of graduation arrives, that we shall welcome you with love and joy. On our behalf and of myself, Shilana, and all the lords of Venus, farewell, unveil our sciences to earth humanity now. When you succeed, you shall, and we shall meet again. With that, on the contact of the telethought was broken, and suddenly all seemed blank and empty before me. Deep within me, knowing that this feeling was only temporary, I would hear of Lanzara again, and until then, a glorious memories of my thrilling experiences in the sightings of the space discs, and meeting both my teacher Shalana and seeing Venus by the Menta visions, and so forth, will never be forgotten. Truly, there is no ceasing of wonders for a new age of individuals, which a great adventurers would be in to shape themselves into. The coming of months and time into the space belongs into the precious secrets. As you may well imagine, in spite of my fatigue, I did not go to sleep very early this night. I walked up and down my room, and to be thinking of to the events of each memorable contact, and the mere thought of how greatly I had been privileged and to be moved to by the very depths of my own soul. As I walked about the room, I observed the Bible lying on my desk. I did not remember placing it there. Obeying a strong impulse, I opened the Bible at random, and my eyes fell upon the second chapter of Revelation, to where it said, "And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto end, to him will I give power, and I will give him the morning star," the end. Oh, we got more. Yay! In my search for a simple, practical aid whereby I might contact flying saucers beings and as well as human intelligence living on other planets, I was led in to study the physics stones of gems. By nature, my psychic or sixth senses developed unto being considerably beyond that which in the average person, for which is being a blessing, I am more grateful. However, I have found myself, if one be desired, and to reach mentally into outer space and communicate with advanced beings by telepathy, it is necessary and to use of every aid that will stimulate and increase one's telepathic power. More contacts with spacemen are being reported here in California than any other state in America. And in my opinion, this is due to the fact that the physics stone known as a telolith is being utilized by more and more persons here as an aid to an ESB, an extrasensory perception development. If you never use a telolith psychic stone, it is more important and to know something about the stone itself and how it looks, where it may be obtained, and most importantly, how it is to be in use for the best results. I shall briefly describe the stone for you and then give you a secret instruction for its telepathic contracts, and to bear in mind and read that the attributes and to being a personal success in OSC, outer space communication, and diligently and faithfully use of the telolift, the physical gym. Of course, there are important secrets to observe. If you are sincerely being a desirous, mentally contacting into a space being, the secrets will also be made into known to you into this report, into the knowledge is first, into this time, and the information both does available into your sincere seekers made new doors open for you. The telolift is a rare born crystal small enough to hold into your hand and carry in your pocket. It is translucent and appears usually in an unpolished natural state and may be of a different shades of color depending on its environmental. It is unlike many other stones in the fact that it possesses an enormous aura and a field of electrovitic radiation. This aura around the stone is though invisible to the ordinary vision. It indicates the stone being contained into the vibratory qualities of these vibrations into the quality of the stone are very high frequency. This reasons the telolift is a step up of the sensitive of your physical body, particularly the pineal and the pituitary glands, which are the physical organs, so that you become more easily and quickly attuned, though the vibrations are constantly being sent to Earth by the space beings. This is what's the well. This is the well I went into. It was nothing but a white crystal well, and that's where the space water was that you could breathe in. Therefore, the psychic stone will prove of the positive aid in that being the reception of the OSC messages, that which were being properly used, but now that into the own telepathical powers, thus enabling you to transmit all into being received of the thoughts of the space beings. It is well known fact that if you wish to project an electrical current into any distant point of the space, which you must first step up the currents into the higher power of the voltage before you release it. Otherwise, there is no power to affect transmission. This is why telolift gym, it assists me to build up the intensify my mental forces that they become so strong and positive of the other psychic gems, and for my work as well as the telolift, and for this purpose and our work for the testing, Edgar Cayce, and to the famous psychic reader and see book 3, that there is a river by Sugru, advised the use of a stone called a lapis lingua, or a singing stone. Whichever stone you may prefer, the instruction for it will apply. If you do not already have a psychic stone, the Gem Exchange, Gem Village, Bayfield, Colorado will send you a price list description of various gems on a postcard that is fine in company, and that will bring a prompt reply. Now, for step-by-step instructions. They are not all complicated nor hard to follow, but each step is to be important. Consecration. Because the telolift psychic stone has a positive negative vibration, it is able to draw in as well as throw off subtle thought influences which have come to pass in many hands before you who have obtained it. Therefore, you must first demagnetize it, and so as to banish all traces of past vibratory influences that which it contains. This is an accomplishment, and that as follows: and to take the gem up into your hand, and to the fingers in your thumb, in your left hand, one into the other, while the fingers and the thumb of your right hand hold the other one into your stone. Now hold the stone quietly and think strongly of your highest ideal life, love, light, and for 5 to 10 minutes. This demagnetizes the telolift and all low vibrations. After you have done this, set the stone down on the table. Do not touch it for 10 full minutes. Above all, do not allow anyone else to handle the stone. At the end of the 10 minutes, picks up the stone again, and you did it before in both hands, and breathe on it slowly. As you breathe and inject the full intensity